Hello, I am Dylan Olive, and I am here with my host,
Caden Keats.
And this is the MacGuffin Movie Podcast, or the MacGuffin Movie Club. We'll keep it running. And as of today, on September 12th, 2023, there are 87 days remaining until the American release of The Boy and the Heron on Miyazaki's... What the fuck? No, we're keeping it all in. Miyazaki's final film until apparently it isn't.
Yeah.
He just can't stop doing that. And I think it's... Do you think it's like on purpose at some point?
I don't know. I mean, he does seem like a guy who would do a bit and like no one would realize he's doing a bit, honestly. Like he feels like he has a dry sense of humor.
Or even just like...
He also might just hate his son that much. I don't know.
That would be funny. 'Cause like, it could just be like he wants people to like treat him and every release he does with like that much importance and like grandiosity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like they would already though. You know, like, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. It's kind of... I don't know why I keep falling for it, but like...
Yeah.
I don't know if he's gonna say his next one is his last, or...
There's gotta be a point when he will say one isn't his last, and then he will pass away. Like, he's... Yeah. It feels like he's old enough at the point, you know.
He's getting up there. I don't know. Yeah, someone on Twitter posted the video of Jordan Belfort. I'm not fucking leaving! It's good.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see anything new from him, honestly. It's impossible to complain. I think that also premiered at TIFF, which is happening right now, or like has been happening for the past couple days. So that's exciting. There's a lot of
David Ehrlich
stuff.
wrote a really good review of it.
That's cool. I haven't read anything about it. I haven't seen any trailers. I've seen a couple pieces of artwork, but I honestly want to go in as blind as possible for this, just because that's how everyone else in Japan saw it. So, I might as well. Because, like, with trailers and stuff, I'll watch it if I'm, like, really excited, but it's kind of like a guilty pleasure thing, you know? Because it's like, whatever. Anyway, I'm glad that he's making another movie.
I watched the trailer, and I will say that I was... Because, like, The Wind Rises as his last movie is, like, a really good last movie, and also I feel like different from the rest of his catalog, since it's so kind of... There's some surrealness in there, but it's a pretty grounded movie.
Sure, yeah. It still takes advantage of animation, but it's like, could be,
All the dreaminess, it's literal dreams. Like, it's not, like, Spirited Away where it's up in the air. This one, I'll just, without giving too much away, it's playing with the imagery a lot.
Okay.
And it's going places. It feels like kind of the ultimate, like, Miyazaki doing Miyazaki-isms, you know?
That's fascinating. I guess in, result of me not wanting to see any of it before watching it in theaters, I don't really have anything else to say about it. Oh, I just remembered.
Yeah.
Also, now that I'm mentioning TIFF, another thing that I forgot to pull up for, like, discussion, I don't know if you care at all, but I care very much that there was an IMAX premiere of Stop Making Sense directed by Jonathan Demme, the live album by Talking Heads. Holy fucking shit! I'm so excited to see that later this month.
I'm very excited because I know like A24 announced it
a while ago. Yeah.
And everyone was just like, "Oh, was this a one-off thing?" And now like they've reunited, and there's all these pictures of like
they
Chris
did
Weitz
the
and not Chris Weitz. What's his name? Chris and Tina standing next to Jerry with David Byrne like. Off to the side, the keyboard player acting as a buffer. Like, it's
Yeah. Oh, God. It makes me so happy. That also kind of gives me hope that there might be, like, a nice... I don't know if A24, like, always releases their stuff on Blu-ray, but that gives me hope that there could be a Blu-ray, or even, like, a Criterion, because I know they released the film for True Stories. So that would be cool if there was a 4K release of that. Either way, though, I also saw a TikTok of a bunch of people, like, in a theater dancing to the music, and it's like, that's so nice and joyous, and I love Talking Heads.
I'm really curious if there's gonna be... I mean, I doubt it, but I wonder if there's gonna be a musical reunion. Like, just because, like, I know they were like, we're never gonna appear on stage again because of how much David Byrne was kind of, like, unfairly maligned by Chris and Tina.
Yeah, because my understanding of it is like David Byrne was like somewhat difficult to work with, but also ridiculed a lot for like his neurodivergency and like just wanting to be like the lead writer.
Yeah. Like, the one really, like, actually shitty thing that I've heard him do was, like, he made Tina Weymouth re-audition for the band, and only her. But then, like, that was, like, 1970... I think it was either after the first album or right before the first album.
The first
like,
came out in 79.
Yeah. So it was, like, a long time ago. I know he also, I think, had a coke problem at one point. So, like, it just feels... And then, like... So, like, all that... obviously, like, became a much better person. I mean, he's talked about, like, self-diagnosing and all this stuff. Then you see these interviews where Tina Weymouth is, like, calling him, like an autistic voodoo baby eater, and, like, just accusing him of the most insane stuff.
He killed a boy in Brazil with voodoo magic, and it's like...
Yeah.
I think that was the exact quote, but,
yeah.
Yeah,
wild.
Who knows what else is going to come of this, if anything. But if nothing else, I'm just glad that more people are able to, enjoy it. That'll be fun.
100%.
To hear a full album in, like, a theater quality sound system. Whatever, regardless. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. That's right.
Next up, Netflix's live-action One Piece series reportedly drew in 37.8 million views in less than 2 weeks, which is a fuck ton. It was the number one watched thing for a while in a whole bunch of countries. People seem to be really enjoying it. I have not watched it because I don't really want to support it, because all the clips that I've seen of it, the like cinematography and effects and lighting all kind of looks sketchy.
I've never watched or read one. I think I've read like maybe like the first chapter or something. I
great first chapter.
Deep dive into it.
Anyway,
and like so even though I've seen stills and clips and stuff. The show just looks like visually so bad. Like, it just doesn't... It looks so great. It looks like all the Star Wars shows, but then without the, like, benefit of those shows kind of taking place in realistic environments. So, like, it just looks like...
Yeah, like not having magic. Well, there is magic, but, like...
Yeah, but like,
not like cartoon shit, Yeah. It's like the cast seems, solid. The costumes seem pretty solid, but also everything kind of looks like a soundstage. According to my brother who watched it, who is like, One Piece is like his favorite thing in the world, like even more so than me, which is hard to imagine. He said that like the best part about it is that all of the characters felt like accurate and felt like they were written in the same way that they were in the manga and anime, because I know that Eiichiro Oda, the series creator, was heavily involved in the making of it, and like obviously he wouldn't want this done if not, exactly how he wanted it. So I think this is like the best that we could possibly see of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's how many hours is it? It's like
10 episodes or something. Or 8, maybe?
No, I mean hour. Like the original series.
Oh, the original series.
Yeah.
It's at 1,091 chapters right now, I think. Or 1,092.
Yeah.
So,
like, I feel like I think even TV in its, like, current state of being generally pretty good, I think film is always, like, a preferred way to adapt something. And the fact, like, that's just never gonna happen with One Piece, I feel like.
Yeah, it's
or at least, not in the way that, like, a direct adaptation. So I think having a show that maybe doesn't look the best, but is written fairly well, performed fairly well, like, I think that's a pretty good, like, middle ground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I just hope that also, like, the emotional plot points connect with people who haven't seen anything else from it and are being introduced through this. Because, like, just thinking about some of the moments in the manga, in that the first 100 chapters is what the first 8 episodes adapts. And just thinking about a couple of those moments, even in, like, it being probably the weakest part of the weakest, like, saga of the series, it's still, like... it like has its moments of like brilliance and sparks here and there, despite it all being basically just a prologue. But
Right.
yeah, obviously neither of us have actually seen it, so we can't really pull it in. But
there is one show. I think it aired on the same day as the One Piece show, which kind of
I think it aired on the same day that a very specific episode of One Piece came out, where I'm not going to spoil anything, but a really cool thing happened, which was probably like my favorite moment in the entire series. If you've read it or watched it, you know which moment I'm talking about, but that has made me cry, I think the most I've ever cried at any piece of media. It was like 11 p.m. and I was like yelling, sobbing, and like my mom came into my room and it was like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm good. I'm reading this new chapter." But like, holy shit, I could go on forever. So
yeah.
I think that was on purpose. So, there's a lot of marketing behind it as well. I'm surprised. I haven't seen any other like live action anime be marketed as much as the One Piece one has.
Yeah, I think I remember the Ghost in the Shell movie. That was like the one that I remember hearing about. But I mean, that movie is like notorious for being bad.
Yeah, I never bothered with it.
Well, there's a show, another adaptation, like not of like of a different series. The Wheel of Time series. It's a book series. They made a show of it. Season 2 of it came out. That's like that. Those books are like my favorite thing ever. That's like my like One Piece. They're incredible, and I think like the marketing team just didn't do anything. Released it on the same day as the most popular show of like worldwide, and I just think it's it's funny that they decided to release season 2 of their show. Probably at the worst release window possible. I don't know.
That is a mad shame. I'll check those out at some point, though. How many books are in that series?
Yeah. It's 14. It's a long series,
okay,
and they're
cool.
they're long books.
Yeah. Well, no, I like reading. I'll get around to them eventually. Next point of news is Rotten Tomatoes score is supposedly being inflated by critics who are paid downwards of $50 to say something positive about it. I guess that only makes sense. I don't know why it's taken this long to have a scandal. I don't think anyone's really that surprised about it.
I think the main reason that it's taken so long is because the people accusing Rotten Tomatoes critics of doing that were like Zack Snyder fanboys who were like, the DC movies have bad scores, but the Marvel movies have good scores, and like I don't love a lot of the Marvel movies, but I do think they're just generally more well received than DC
it's
movies.
Like you can't be shocked that like Guardians of the Galaxy has a higher score than the original Suicide Squad,
Yeah, like exactly. So and with that kind of stigma around it, there's just been this sheen of like, nope, there's nothing going on over here. Look at all these wackos who want the Snyder cut, and let's go on.
Yeah, I guess so. That is very funny how that works out. But I think it's also easier for them to do that on Rotten Tomatoes because they only really need to give it like a 6 out of 10 for it to be a positive score. It's a lot easier on Rotten Tomatoes to have a really low score or a really high score compared to other reviewing websites or like average rating finding things.
Which is why Metacritic is probably the best gauge.
In terms of like
the thing with Rotten Tomatoes too is that they like the audience, like the critics they get are like nerdcrush.com, and it's like just some guy who writes about movies on his blog and watches just every franchise movie. Like, of course that guy's gonna give whatever the new IP movie is of the month a 7 out of 10 and say it's great. I'm curious how much of the like paying for stuff is like actually like getting real deal like major publication critics to give a positive review, and how much is just getting these smaller outlets in to inflate the scores.
Mm-hmm.
Like I doubt there's any actual. I mean, I haven't looked into it that much, so but I think Disney or whatever paying is to find those people, not to get the New York Times to give a 3 where they were going to give a 2.
Right. Yeah. I feel like I should be more upset, but at some point it's like, I don't know. I wasn't even looking at Rotten Tomatoes to begin with.
Exactly. And it doesn't affect, like... It doesn't affect movies that much. Like, it's just another thing to have in your trailer, honestly, and, like...
It's another stamp to put on your box art.
Right, yeah.
Other than that, speaking of Disney, a fully animated Toy Story version of the Falcons vs. Jaguars NFL game will be streaming on Disney Plus on October 1st. What does that mean? It's hard to say.
Who knows?
The trailer they released is really vague, and nobody really understands why this exists, or, like, who's going to watch it, or who it's for, or, like...
Do you follow football at all?
No. I don't really follow
sports,
but...
So, do you know if this is a game that has happened already? Like...
I'm pretty sure.
Is this an old game? Okay.
Or maybe it's... a famous game, but this wasn't the Super Bowl, because, like, it's not like...
No.
Because that was the Eagles, and that was, like, I'm only aware whenever the Birds are doing well. Go Birds, but, like...
Right, go Birds.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess this is just, like, they're on the writer's strike, so they're just sort of fumbling for new ideas. Moving on, then... there probably isn't much to say about this. I'm just happy that there's more news. A work-in-progress cut of Robert Eggers' Nosferatu is being test-screened for an audience this week. I'm just so happy that still exists and wasn't canned, because I've heard about it for forever, and, like, that in concept sounds so cool, and Eggers is easily one of my favorite working modern new directors and auteurs. And his last three films, or his first three films, rather, have all been so different and unique to each other, but also especially to everything else that's being released. So, you know.
I think I haven't seen The Northman yet, so I
thought it was really good.
Can't speak on that. I want to see it. It looks great.
Yeah.
But I think what's so interesting about him is that compared to someone like Ari Aster, he doesn't do the, like, elevated horror thing in a normal, like, it feels like he's actually approaching it like he's a guy with a take, which I really like. And not like, I like Ari Aster, I'm not to chill on him, but like, he has a very specific thing that he does, and it feels like Robert Eggers is just one of the few modern auteurs who is, like, doing new stuff with like digital photography, doing, like, just crazy interesting things.
He feels like an innovator. He feels like he's, like, someone who will be remembered, you know, in the coming decades as somebody who's, like, really important to modern cinema. But also, I'm obviously very biased just because I like his films, but still, they're not for everyone, you know? And
definitely not.
So I don't know, maybe he'll be or he'll help bring back mid-budget cinema, which is, you know, seems to work for him. Who really knows? But I'm so fucking happy that this is being made, and he wasn't just totally dropped after the Northman kind of bombed in theaters.
Totally, yeah.
I hope they also have Bjork in this one.
They should have Bjork in every movie.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. I know there's an actor strike and all, yada yada, but like get Bjork in the movie.
Yeah, you can give her a what's it called, a waiver.
Yeah, give her an interim. So, like, have her show up on every talk show. She doesn't even need to be a guest. Just, like, have her, like, be in the
sitting
audience,
in the back,
you know?
sitting back like Hannibal Buress in the Eric Andre show. She's, like, sitting in some, like, lean back chair, just, like, throwing in comments. Pretzels is the same. Anyway, love her. Moving on from that, more release dates. Weirdly, or not weirdly, it was probably on purpose. New visuals for the Godzilla spin-off series Monarch Legacy of Monsters, releasing on November 17th on Apple Plus, as well as a new teaser for Godzilla -1, which is a Japanese Godzilla film. Neither of them, I mean, you know, they show Godzilla. It looks like Godzilla. I don't know who's directing. I'm gonna look up who's directing both of these. It will be...
I don't know. I feel like the person doing the Japanese movie is a name.
Directed by Takashi Yamazaki, who has directed... What is that? No. Oh, he directed the live action version of Parasite, the anime manga Parasite. Oh, and he directed Lupin the Third, the first. That was really good.
Oh wow.
Yeah, not much, but sure. Legacy of Monsters is being directed by. I'm looking at the IMDb now. It doesn't say. Oh my god, I wish
I think
that
it's
you
a
were.
show, right?
Yeah. It doesn't say though who is. Oh, directors. Okay, there's 5 different directors, each doing 2 episodes.
Oh, Matt Shackman. He did some Always Sunny.
Oh shit, that's cool. Oh, one person here.
Yeah.
Julian Holmes has worked on The Boys and Daredevil. I don't know anything that this person has worked on. Yeah, Matt Shackman did a bunch of episodes on Sunny. That's awesome. I don't know how that's going to translate into Godzilla, but, you know, we ball.
Oh, Kurt Russell's in it, right. Oh my god.
What have I seen with Kurt Russell in it?
The Thing, maybe? He's in a lot.
Yeah, okay, Sorry. No, I knew him. I just needed to...
Yeah.
God, good fucking movie. Okay, yeah. I don't know if there's going to be anything related to Godzilla that I'll like enjoy, because I liked Shin Godzilla and I liked the very original Japanese Godzilla film, and I've seen like a couple other ones, but like none of them really stuck with me. So I hope that
I have the distinct memory of like going with my grandfather just like randomly one day to see Godzilla King of Monsters, like the newer one with Millie Bobby Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to like Godzilla, but I never actually was like into it the way some people were.
Yeah.
And I know for sure my grandfather is not a big Godzilla fan, and it was like it's maybe one of the worst movies I've ever seen. So I don't know if they're taking that and trying to say, okay, let's get away from that, but
they're probably moving on from it.
My recent experiences were not great.
Yeah, because Godzilla is such, like, a cool design and concept, and, like, a kaiju is, like, such an underutilized thing in pop culture and action movies, and it's mostly a Japanese thing, but, like, a big dinosaur destroying a city is, like, so... Like, that has so much potential, but also he was created as a metaphor for the atomic bombs dropped on Japan in the Second World War, so, like... Thematically speaking, it shouldn't be an action movie, really. Godzilla should be, like, a horror film, you know? It should be closer in tone to a war movie. But, of course, it's not treated like that because he's very, very marketable. I'm pretty sure I have a figure of him somewhere.
I actually think I'm looking at one. I actually do.
Nice.
I didn't realize that.
But, yeah, I don't have anything else to say for that if you don't.
No, I don't really. I think it looked fine. Like, it didn't knock me out or anything.
Yeah. The first trailer for Chicken Run 2 has been releasing December 15th on Netflix. I know that film has a cult following of fans who really love it. Aardman is obviously, like, fantastic visually for everything they make, though I haven't, like, seen anything from them in a long time. I hope this is good, but also I don't really care either way. I think watching both the original and new one, and then talking about it on this podcast would be fun, because I haven't seen the original since I was a kid. So I would like to see how much it holds up, if at all.
Yeah. I mean, I know one element of the original that definitely doesn't hold up, and that's Mel Gibson. So, who's been recast for the second one.
Cool.
I think as Zachary Levi, which is the funniest... like modern allegory. Like, it's not similar in stardom at all. But yeah,
interesting. I mean, I guess it's been long enough, so it's like this is like a legacy sequel. It's not like they're cashing in on the boom, you know? They're just sort of throwing it out there on Netflix and being like, let's see if this makes money, which is a crazy thing to do for a stop motion animated film, because those are very expensive. So I don't know. I guess I hope it's good, but not necessarily holding my breath.
Definitely not.
Yeah. besides that, for another trailer that releases Five Nights at Freddy's, streaming on Peacock on October 27th. I don't know if it's getting... I would presume it's getting some sort of theatrical release.
I think it's the first movie in a while to do concurrent theatrical streaming release.
Oh, okay.
Which is
I
so
see.
funny.
Yeah. I guess, well, maybe because it's like a horror film, they're trying to market it to like people who don't give a shit about like going out to a theater to see a movie. It's like, you know, on Halloween, you want to just like stay in and eat candy and watch a scary movie. Anyway, Five Nights at Freddy's is a movie that I am very interested in and I hope is at least interesting, because if it comes out and everyone's like, it's boring and forgettable, then I won't watch it. But like, dude, if this came out 10 years ago, I would be hyped over the fucking
100%.
moon about it. Like that and the Mario movie. But like, now it's like, okay.
Yeah, I just feel like with low budget, because this movie looks low budget. Like, I don't know what...
Real animatronics. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I think that's like where most of it went to. And I think for low budget horror, like, I don't know. It feels like, especially since it's an IP movie, I'm not optimistic. But then also since Five Nights at Freddy's is weirdly an IP with an author, like a very direct person writing all of it. Like,
but he writes it all very inconsistently. So there's a vision and a mind behind it, but like it's also kind of wide open to have anything thrown in.
Totally, yeah. It's the one. My main problem with it is that I think if you were to do the movie, it should be a mockumentary about like a journalist and like kind of an old 80s aesthetic, and I feel like this movie does not look like that at all.
That sounds too experimental to be mainstream, I think.
That is true.
I think anything other than just like a direct, straightforward narrative for a film like this just like wouldn't perform as well.
That is
but I don't know, maybe it would.
But then like this does look like a weird movie. Like it doesn't look like your normal, or like it seems like there's like cutaways and like multiple storylines.
God, I fucking hope they kill the kids. Oh my God, I hope they kill the kids. If we get to see a real child die on screen, it will immediately be better than like 90% of modern mainstream horror films.
Yeah,
because nobody has the balls to kill kids, and that's what this whole series hinges on, is dead children. In the trailer, you see one of them get attacked by the cupcake animatronic. So that's cool. Other than that, I don't know how they're gonna get this guy back into the building for 5 nights in a row.
Yeah,
it kind of just looked like he's there for one time. I don't know how there's gonna be 5 of these nights. I don't know. Matthew Lillard is fun, I guess. I just watched SLC Punk, and he's really good in that. So
I've been meaning to watch that.
Great film.
Yeah,
great movie. Anyway,
I hope it's at least interesting. I will say, like, even if it's bad, I hope it's interesting, like, bad in an interesting way.
It's definitely going to be better than, like, Willy's Wonderland. Remember that? I
do remember that. I see people defend that movie, though. A weird amount I've seen people defend it.
If it'll, you know, it's got a built-in fan base, so, it'll do at least. It'll probably make its money back.
That's maybe part of the reason they're doing it on Peacock, is because they know parents probably won't want to take their, like, 8-year-olds to see a horror movie, so then they're like, oh, we'll put it on Peacock, we'll have people watch it, you know, and so. Next
piece of news, Killers of the Flower Moon will be delayed from October 6th to October 20th, but now with a wide release, and also on IMAX. So I will be pre-ordering my tickets as soon as possible.
100%. Like, my most anticipated movie of the year
I would
by
agree.
Far.
Yeah. I don't want to, like, hype myself up too much, you know what I mean? But also it's...
Yeah, I mean, it's Scorsese. Like,
You know he's gonna bring something big to the table. There's nothing more to say about it, but that's cool. I'm glad that it's that the studio has enough faith in it to release it wide.
Totally.
A new release, Wes Anderson's new short film, released at TIFF, or one of the... It released, and people like it. It's good. And his other movies are coming out, I think, later this month or next month on Netflix. I don't know why it's not just like an anthology film. I think I prefer movies like that than just making them short films. I get maybe because it's supposed to be like a mini series to binge, but
I don't know. They're long. Like I think it's like each is 40 minutes, so maybe he didn't want to do something that was like over 2 hours. But I don't really know.
Maybe
it feels weird.
It's crazy though that he's releasing so much content in 1 year, because Asteroid City was great. I would have imagined he would have needed like all of his attention and focus paid to that. I don't know how he would have been able to also create 4 short films.
100. Like that movie is so dense. Like it's not just
there's
like
so much detail.
Yeah, like beyond the visuals, it is like it's like 5 essays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like because it's like the movie is about an artist and the artist has a life, and this is a movie about the artist's life. But then the artist is like it's so meta, and each layer has its own different conclusion about things that it feels like that is the thing you'd be working on for 5 years. But he also had the French Dispatch release last year or 2 years ago. I guess at this point.
It's clearly an incredibly densely made film, and densely written film. So, it has positive. This new one has a positive reception. That's nice. I'm a sucker for. I haven't disliked anything that he's made yet, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
Next up, the last piece of news here that I have is a live-action Fallout series in 2024 on Amazon Prime based on the video games, which I have started playing Fallout New Vegas because it's like the trans femme thing to do, and but I kind of gave up because it's really difficult, so I might just play it on easy mode at some point. And then I also played like the first half or so of Fallout 4 and then just kind of got bored. But that was like years back. Anyway, I hope they put as much effort into this as they did with something like The Last of Us. Obviously, very different type of story because it's not just like one linear thing. Each game is its own individual story, and also it's a choose your own adventure sort of thing with different endings. How it's going to be adapted, I don't know, but I think it has potential.
Totally. I mean, I think Fallout is like I've only played like some of New Vegas. I think that's it. Maybe I played some of the first one. But
like the top down.
Yeah, I went through a phase where I was like trying to play old CRPGs. And like the aesthetic of those games is just so incredible. Like, just one of the best aesthetics. And I really think that could translate to film well. Totally.
It's got a great atmosphere and design of everything. And world, it's very, like, in-depth and expansive. But it also makes sense as far as I can tell. But wait, why were the bombs dropped? What was that about? What was the conflict in that game?
I think it's just the Cold War. There's something like that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's interesting. Hope that's good. But don't have anything more to say about that. Besides all of those pieces of news and release dates and whatnot, we have some films to discuss. The first of which being, oh my god, I'm forgetting the director's name. What's her name? Do you know?
Emma Siegelman?
Emma
Siegelman?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is it. Thank you. We're talking about the two Emma Siegelman films. Also both starring Haley something. Let me pull that up.
Rachel Sennett?
Yes, thank you. Oh my god, I'm not on my game today. The first of which is Shiva Baby, which came out in 2019 or 2020. And
2021, I think, actually.
Oh, really? It says 2020 here on Letterboxd.
I think it aired at TIFF.
Oh, okay,
or
sure.
In 2020,
sure,
but then
yeah,
it came out.
It's one of those things. Good movie. It's a short little thing. It's an hour 18 minutes. It's clearly like low budget, only 2 sets and 1 location in the entire film. Only a couple
I think
actors.
the budget was $300,000, which is
damn, that's
crazy
low. That is
Yeah.
really low. That's like, it's not quite micro budget, but it's still like very
getting
impressive. Yeah. I don't know actually how much constitutes for micro budget.
Oh, sorry, 200,000.
Damn, even
So
more
smaller.
impressive.
Yeah.
It's a very uncomfortable romp that is hard not to spoil because there's like a reveal probably like 20 minutes into the film that I think is worth keeping a secret if you haven't seen it because it was a shock to me.
Yes.
So it's fun. It's not fun, but it's very interesting to unpack. It's very... Well, okay, I don't want to be redundant because I looked at all the Letterboxd and IMDb reviews and everybody was just talking about how anxiety-inducing it is, and it is. It's very anxiety-inducing. That's the whole point. It's an entire anxiety attack of a film. The entire time I was just like screaming to myself, I'm like, oh my god, just like step outside and like breathe for a second or like put on some headphones or something because it is so painfully relatable. And I just recently saw a bunch of family and like having to talk, obviously my situation isn't as bad as this character's, but having to talk to them about your future and like having to sound like confident and seem interesting is, and like feel like you need to justify everything you say is painfully relatable and sad and weird. And it's a very humanly made story, I think, and character.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like, I think I love this movie. It's probably my favorite comedy of the past 5-10 years. Like
it is a comedy too. I didn't even mention that, but it is very funny.
It's very funny, and I think it works so well as a comedy because it is just like a really tightly written and directed movie. Like it's very it's the fact that it's so claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Lets you like, because I'm sure it was honestly claustrophobic to film since there are just so many different extras and like people around. It feels like you're in there when the character finally does go outside for one scene. You feel it. It works so well as a dramatic story that is just extremely funny. Yeah.
I don't know how much more there is to say that's not a spoiler, but I think without spoiling anything, I think the ending was my main issue with it. I don't think it felt very deserved, but it did feel realistic. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I can kind of see where you're coming from. I mean, I think what this movie does best is this is one of the only movies that I've seen that like shows the way people communicate through smartphones that's not visual. Like there's a dramatic point in this movie that is about like liking Instagram stories.
Yeah.
And I think the end of this movie feels like it is just a very contemporary, this is what these two people would do in the situation. This is what this family would do.
Sure. Yeah,
and I just really respect that.
I think I just want to start talking about spoilers, so if you have anything else to say that's like not spoilers, then
No.
Yeah. Okay, so spoiler warning, skip to the time code on the video to talk about our next film. I think specifically with the ending, it does feel realistic and interesting, but it doesn't feel like her relationship with her girlfriend, I guess. It felt like it shouldn't have been mended that easily. Like, she said some really nasty shit. She found out that she was a sugar baby and then was, like, mean, like, berating her about it and wasn't, like, sympathetic. Like, how... Like, that's a fucked thing to do to someone you want to call your friend, you know?
It's very fucked. I think the fact that they had known each other for so long, like, that they were childhood best friends and not just started dating later in life, I think that's kind of part of it, that like it feels a little bit like in the moment that she's not like, you're saying it to hurt someone, not because you mean it, and obviously that's still very shitty, but like it felt more like I don't know. I definitely see where you're coming from.
And then with the rest of her family, it's like no great conclusion is made about her feeling comfortable in her family or at the Shiva, but like it's fine because she has her girlfriend now and she has like somebody who she can connect with, and like that's good. I think it would have worked better for me if that relationship worked better, I guess. But yeah, that's like the main issue, if I want to call it that. But otherwise, yeah, it's fucking it's so good and uncomfortable and weird.
Yeah.
Oh, and unique.
It feels like a Cassavetes movie in a weird way. Like, it's kind of like A Woman Under the Influence. Like, not exactly, but just the, like, we're just gonna stay here longer than you want to and just get right up in there. Obviously, it's a lot funnier and a lot less humanistic and raw than Cassavetes movies are, but yeah.
Also, maybe a dumb question, but I feel like I have to ask it because I'm not 100% sure. In the scene where she goes into the bathroom with the other guy, did she blow him, or did she just get on her knees, or did she just imagine that?
I think she just got on her knees.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't tell like what exactly was being shown, but yeah, that was
or maybe she started to, but I don't think it was like they didn't.
Yeah,
she didn't end up like blowing him. Yeah.
As for her relationship with her family, it's also like really complicated because she has all of these points that is like hit with each person individually, and then as the film progresses, it keeps getting more like repetitive, and like she gets tired of talking about it, and you as the viewer get tired of listening to it, but like you understand why it's happening, and it's just like a really creative way to use dialogue. I think also how like she like everybody mentions her weight and like eating something, and everybody asks about college and asks about her future and her major, and then she has to explain her major, and then like they're they're like being passive aggressive about that, and then they're being passive aggressive about her being bisexual, and then it's like she just cannot, for the love of God, catch a break, and nobody is like being sympathetic, I guess, or at least they're not like, or maybe they're trying to be, but like they're certainly not succeeding in that.
Yeah, it's a really great like creation of threads, and especially when like later on in the movie when there are like the Danielle, that's the character's name, I think. Like her plot takes more of a forefront, and then like while she's having conversations with her ex-girlfriend, it'll like cut across the room where people like her mom is having a conversation, and it's the same thing they were talking about earlier. But then they're passive aggressively talking from like just like it feels like it's like constricting the entire room around her. Yeah.
Yeah, those were good like bits when they would just like pan over and it would be like the two old people talking. Also, I guess I should mention I'm not like Jewish. I've never been to a Shiva before, but like it's it's a family gathering. I think I get the gist. There's probably more to get out of it, or like it's probably more relatable for someone who is and has been to one, but I mean, I still enjoyed it for what it is.
Yeah, I think it's a funeral. Like that, it's a family gathering after a funeral.
Yeah. She's a college student, or I think first year college student, and I'm senior in high school at this point, and so I have to be thinking about college, and so I'm being asked about that. But also, I've been being asked about that for the past year, and I never really have a good answer. And it's like I do want to be a film student. If I'm being completely honest, I just do. I want to like write and direct feature films, and that's a pipe dream, but it's true. But I don't want to have to explain that because I don't want to. It's a vulnerable thing to put yourself out there like that so blatantly, and like for her, obviously, it's like a lot different because she is gender business major, and then like which just like from the name sounds like something that like old people would like be passive aggressive about, so it's like
what are you, a gender business major? Oh my god.
Yeah, it sounds like a Jerry Seinfeld stand-up bit, But oh my god, that part is horribly relatable. It did get me thinking though about like coming of age stories and how when they are made by adults about their past, it is more insightful but less like truthful because they are not children now, you know what I mean? But whereas if they were like if I made a coming of age story, it would be more truthful but like less valuable because it would to like other people coming of age because it wouldn't be insightful in a retrospective way. You know what I mean?
That's really interesting. Yeah. I think
I was just thinking about that.
It works. I think coming of age stories work best when it is like The Last Picture Show, which Peter Bogdanovich directed. That's not based off of his life, but he came of age in the 50s. And I think that works. It feels authentically 50s, but then it is very insightful about what has passed since then.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film.
Great movie.
Yeah.
So, and then I think with something like The Graduate, which I love. That's
that's a really good one.
It feels like it does kind of nail down the aesthetic of the times and the ideas of the times, but then like also Dustin Hoffman is very clearly not 24.
Yeah,
like,
I think the age gap in real life was like 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Lots of different ways to handle stories about young people, and I always think that's interesting, and I always appreciate those kind of stories. They tend to be a lot of my favorites. Not as much so in movies as much as like series and you know, manga and anime and whatnot for whatever reason. I don't know why. Anyway, that's off topic. Yeah, Shiva Baby, great movie, especially in 2020 and 2021. It's one of the better films to come out of those 2 years, I think, which was obviously quite a slow time. I don't know if this was like made right before the pandemic or during it.
I think they made it 2019 because it was.
That would make sense.
It was an NYU movie, like. So I don't think they probably like took a while to get finished and then get distribution and stuff.
Yeah, I guess we haven't really touched on the whole Sugar Baby aspect of her character all too much, but like her client, I guess, being in like the same room as her family is a really good way to connect the different points of her, like to connect the different points of her life to make everything collide in a way that it's not supposed to, and like put her in such a horribly vulnerable position where she has zero control of her power. And obviously she doesn't want her parents to, you know about that aspect of her life.
It is just it's a great device, especially since it's set up early on. Mm-hmm. The first shot of the movie is a sex scene, basically. It's not a sex scene, but like, the end of a sex scene. And then you think about that, it feels like, okay, this is a very like gritty interpretation of it, and then you get there and it does play into the plot in a really funny way.
I guess I don't have much more to say about it. It's a pretty simple movie. Yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, and this has convinced you to give it a watch, then it's probably your thing. If it looks like your thing, it's only an hour 18 minutes, so throw it on, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm gonna give this one 8 out of 10. Good movie.
Yeah. I love this movie. 10 out of 10 for me.
Cool. Not much more to say about that. However, from the same director and lead actress, the next film we're talking about is a new one, Bottoms.
Yes. Which
is, in my opinion, even better, I thought.
Yeah. I would need to watch it again, I think, but I loved it too.
It's, the basic plot synopsis is that it is a high school movie about two kids who want to get laid, and so they start fight. They start a club that they market to the teachers as a self-defense club and to the other students as a fight club, basically.
Yeah. And specifically for women.
It should be
because they're
clarified.
lesbians.
I really enjoyed it. It's a good cartoonish comedy high school movie that is actually unique and like feels like it brings something new to the table compared to Emma Siegelman's Seligman's last film. It's something like very new, but also sort of similar, like tonally, or not tonally, but like it's sort of similar, but it's different enough to show that she has range.
Of humor.
Yeah,
yeah.
It was a very funny movie as well. I got a couple good laughs, but also there were a couple bits that were like very predictable. I think. The explosion at the end, I think, was like very. That was the one where like it happened in my head like a full minute before it happened.
Yeah. And like stuff like that, I was like, sure, I'm so in on this movie. I can't even laugh at that. The only thing that was like this movie kind of was branded as like, oh, here's another like cringy, super bad wannabe, which I think is always a reductive comparison. But. The only bit that I felt like really was like, oh, I think that's not great is the like Yas Queen like screaming bit.
Wait, when did that happen?
It's the one I think they call her like a paint sniffer. She wears a beanie. She like just screams at one point, and it's like, it was the only thing that didn't land for me at any level.
That's probably relatable. It's not like the funniest movie I've ever seen, but it is
no, definitely
very solid. And it's also like, like I said, it's very cartoony, and that's like its aesthetic. That's its style. It has a vision, and that is going way over the top and never feeling like having relatable characters, but still never feeling quite like it's real life. And there is a lot of comedy to be derived in a high school setting from that you haven't seen before.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Besides the comedy aspect to it, it is also like a feminist film, but it's not like the point of its existence probably wasn't to be like feminist. I think it mainly just uses feminism as like a vehicle to like drive its high school story.
I think it's like it is tentatively a feminist film. I think it's definitely like kind of a very different queer movie compared to a lot of mainstream, especially queer comedy that's coming out. Like that's the one I think social take that it has.
What was that one called?
What was it?
Or Bottoms? No? That's the movie we were talking about.
That's this movie.
What was the movie by the guy who does the like on the street bits and like it was about the gay people? Bros. Yeah, I didn't watch that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone watched that. That was yeah.
Yeah, the representation is cool. Appreciate it. Anyway, I should probably just start talking about like the actual spoilers and contents of the film.
Yeah,
because there's a lot more to say about that. So, spoilers. Skip if you want to see it. I would recommend it.
100%.
Especially, but also I think it's one of those movies that like if you want to see it, you've already seen it. And if you haven't, what are you
I would
doing?
say so.
So yeah. Spoiler alert: they kill people with swords, and I thought that was
it's great.
That was funny. That kind of took me off guard. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and it's gory. They don't
hold back. That it's rated R, but it's not like edgy, or it's edgy, but it's not like annoyingly edgy. You know what I mean?
The point isn't to be edgy. It is just it like manages to be kind of edgy just because it is.
I guess I should start talking about like the actual plot. Two girls, they want to get laid. They start Fight Club. The two people that they're interested in are like the popular girls who are dating the jocks who are these like cartoon incredibly stupid people that I think
comically stupid, incredibly
like incapable of doing basically anything or any sort of critical thinking, but it works because they don't like really need to be decent characters. It's like technically they're the antagonist, but it's more so just like a, story about the main characters and the main duo, which I think have a lot of very solid chemistry together. I think Rachel Sennett and Ayo Edebiri, if I'm pronouncing that correct.
Ayo Edebiri is
Ayo Edebiri.
Have you seen The Bear?
No, I haven't. Is it good?
Oh, it's like, I think probably my favorite show ever. Like, it's nice. Good. And Ayo is very good on it, and like I knew about her stand up, and they both Ayo Edebiri and Rachel Sennett did a Comedy Central web series, like just like 3 episodes of like sketches they made, which are like pretty good 6-7 out of 10 fun sketches. But like I haven't really seen her in like this comedic of a role before, because The Bear's basically it's a drama more so than a comedy.
Yeah, drama with like comedy elements. Yeah,
and it was cool to see her like go back to stand up, go back to the improv that she used to do.
Yeah. There's definitely like probably some solidly improv lines. At the end, they showed the blooper reel, so that's fun. I like that they seem to be having fun with it. This movie looks like the people working on it were having fun making it,
Yes.
That goes a long way. Solid cast as well. Who was the guy who played the teacher? He was like a famous person, I think.
He was Marshawn Lynch. He's a football player. I only know him because he did the show Murderville. Which is an improv show. And it was like he was funny on it, and that's the reason he was casted.
Oh, that's the one where it's improv for like one actor, and then everybody else like has a script.
Yeah,
I have heard about that. I should watch that sometime. It sounds interesting.
It's interesting. Like some of the episodes are whatever, and then some are like kind of really insanely funny. Like the one with Kumail Nanjiani is hilarious.
Nice. I'll keep that in mind. Anyway, more about Bottoms. It follows a pretty basic story structure of high school movies. I think I want to get into my first like major I shouldn't call it a major complaint. It's more of a nitpick than a major complaint. But the end of second act breakup is really starting to annoy me. It's not like in this film specifically, it's not poorly written. It makes sense. If I hadn't seen that trope before, then I would have really enjoyed it. But that was the point at which I decided to leave the theater to take a piss, because I was like, okay, we're good. Like it's a lot better than something
Did you see the complicated montage?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to pull up the like a cam rip for it real quick.
Yeah. So after the end of second act breakup, there's a montage that is set to Avril Lavigne's Complicated.
Huh.
And the rest of it's played, it's a very funny montage because it starts out pretty straight, just like normal, what you'd expect, teen comedy type thing, and then like it goes further and further into like being a parody of itself. So by the end, Ayo Edebiri is just like kicking a can down a dirt road, like with like telephone wires everywhere, and that's like nice. That was probably I thought it was a really great visual.
Yeah, okay,
that was the one reason I was like, yeah.
Whatever.
It's fine.
Yeah. The other montages in the film though were fun. I enjoyed like the first main montage of the characters fighting. Also, I don't know if this is true for you, but as soon as they got to that point, they started playing some song. They had a needle drop. And it was a song that I wasn't familiar with. And I feel like I would have liked this scene a lot more, or I would have been, like way more into it if it was like a song that I liked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't love the soundtrack for this.
Yeah, I saw that Charlie XCX was on it, but I didn't notice her like in the actual film.
Yeah, I think she just has the credits on.
Oh, okay. That would make sense, yeah. But yeah, I don't... That feels like a really dumb thing that's, like, not even a real complaint. Because it's like... you know, you can't just, like... If it's a good montage, then it should work with the, like, selected music. And it does. That's true. It's just, like... Oh, it's something that's, like, so small that, like, shouldn't matter because it's such, like... Music taste like that is such a personal thing. But whatever. I just felt like I should mention it.
Yeah, I definitely see where that was another thing that was like, I feel like it's all very kind of like late or early 2010s like type pop, but like it's I don't think it's from the early 2010s. It feels more modern in a lot of it's a weird soundtrack.
Besides that, though, sorry, continuing with the actual plot, I forget exactly how it all happens. At some point, they introduce the character Hazel, who I really like. I think she just, like, pops up, and that's, like, her joke, is that she just sort of appears and is part of the like, group of friends or whatever, and she doesn't understand, what's it called? Not satire. Oh, fuck, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Social norms?
No, like, social cues, but, like... sarcasm. She doesn't understand sarcastic social cues from the main character, and so that also, evolves into a conflict. I like her character, but like, I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, like not like super deep, but just like a really enjoyable, fun screen presence. You know what I mean? Like I'm glad
the performance does a lot.
Yeah, she's entirely unnecessary to the plot, but I'm very glad that she is there. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, I think it's like this movie, it feels like everything that is necessary is whatever, every single thing that adds like a little bit of color and interesting ideas is what makes this movie. Like it's a very basic movie when you strip away the personality, but like what it does with the basic form is super fun and engaging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. When I talk about wanting, to have mainstream big comedy movies back, I'm talking about this and not, what was the one with the fucking, what's her name? Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, No Hard Feelings?
Yeah, that looked dumb. Did you watch that?
No, I was going to, and then I just didn't think it was worth it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It didn't look that great.
Eventually, I was surprised also how like into the main like fight in like the middle of the film I was, because like that was
pretty well directed.
Yeah, it's like I think it's really well done, and like despite knowing what's going to happen, basically I still like really enjoyed it, you know, unlike having a second act breakup. That was just like a moment that like really sticks out in my mind, because it's like it's just like really gripping as a fight scene. Like everything, it was a fun to watch two characters battling each other, which isn't something that I see in a lot of movies. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I say you know what I mean all the time. I need to stop saying that. Anyway, I'm a big fan of a lot of anime and manga that have that. And that's like a big part of watching anime and reading manga, is like a lot of the fight scenes when especially when it's like shonen and seinen and action series. But in films, a lot of the time, like an action movie won't be like two people fighting, and then when it is, it hardly ever like goes that far. You know what I mean? It's like people punching each other, but it's like it's usually not as like interesting and fun as it is in this movie. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, totally. It's just a good fight. Like it's a genuinely good fight scene, and it's very kinetic and like also very funny. I think from these two movies, Emma Singleman is like very adept at letting things be just good on the level that of the thing they're satirizing, and then also having funny moments within them.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, of course, at the end with the like battle where it just like totally goes off the wall, that was just like very entertaining in a similar way. they make their fight club. It's somewhat successful. It falls apart when people start figuring out, hey, wait a minute, this probably isn't a good thing. They come back together. There's this one joke that I really like where it's the person in the like dark clothes who's like, that's my final straw, and then writes plan like blow up school or something in her book, and I laughed a lot at that. Not as much as like the callback to it later on in the movie, but I just thought that one specific, because I think there was also like a music cue that went along with it. It hardly added anything, but it was just like a touch that I really loved. The touches like that I really enjoy.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, it's a very cartoony movie, and there's a lot of just cartoony moments. Like that could be a Simpsons joke, I feel like, whatever. Like where like something happens and then when the scene should end, it just lingers on the one character.
And what's her name? The Io gets laid. Rachel does not. I'm just calling them by their actress name, whatever. That's their breakup. She talks with her like aunt or grandma or just like a neighbor. I forget exactly the relation.
It's, I think you went out during. This was at the end of the montage.
Yeah.
She's like just a lesbian who lives in a neighborhood. And who I think is like at one point is like, I can't be your elder queer anymore. You were basically an adult. So I think that's
yeah. That was a nice solid moment. And then is the return together. The rival school has a plan to assassinate or like kill or like not necessarily kill, but like
no, they are planning to
kill him. Okay,
yes,
because I remember they had the bit with like the fruit juice that they were, because he's allergic to that
pineapple juice.
That's what it is. Yeah. And so they save him to get their reputations back. The running gag with the labels on their lockers were very funny, or was very funny. They do a lot of things with that.
I feel like they only did like 2.
I think there were a couple. It was loser number 1, loser number 2, and then like cool person number 1, cool person number 2, and then and then it was like liar number 1 and 2. I enjoyed that bit.
It at the end of like any plot point, they would go back to their lockers, and it would
a good reuse of set and like establishing of different scenes. Anyway, and then they get the payoff of having fought each other, and you get to see them all kill people with swords. The end. Good movie. What was the...
Good movie.
Oh, I also really liked when she was like, oh, I'm not a lesbian, I just like lesbian porn. I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, it's a great... Yeah. Also, Rachel and Hazel kiss. I don't know if that's like intending... Because I feel like they were the ones who had the biggest rivalry within the main characters, so I think it was supposed to be kind of like but they were in love the whole
Enemies
time,
to lovers? Is that what it's called?
I guess.
Yeah. Good movie. I don't have much more to say about it. It's really fucking funny.
It's a funny, solid movie. Have you seen Wet Hot American Summer?
No, I have not. I probably should.
Yeah, this movie reminds me a lot of that. That movie is like, there's nothing dramatic about that. There's one dramatic scene, but it's played as a joke. So it's like, from what I know about the writing of this movie, it was originally supposed to be even less dramatic and have even less to do with like character drama, and as they wrote it, they injected a little more into it.
Yeah, at the very least, they do that well. Still,
yeah, I think it's a very well done movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I have much more to say about it. I guess it really kind of speaks for itself. Mentioned before, it's like, I don't know if it's really a feminist film, but it just sort of like talks about women, and it's pretty like straightforward. It's not making any grand remarks or like grand statements about feminism or gender. It just sort of is a part of it. It's not a very political film, really.
No, not at all. There's some moments, but I think it's really interesting as a movie, and I think Shiva Baby kind of does this too, where it's just like, we're gonna exist in these spaces and just try to get any ideas out from existing in the spaces. We're not gonna try to claim like, where like I think a lot of stuff from like the end of the Obama administration kind of did, where it was like, this is the important movie that you've been waiting to see, and this is going to solve feminism, and it's going to solve gay... Like, I feel like both these movies just are very much like, let's just look at the queer people and women from a queer and female perspective.
Oh yeah, that also reminded me of Booksmart, which I watched recently because it's another coming-of-age film about one lesbian... and it's compared to other films like High School Movies, but that one more so is just like Superbad, but with girls. I also liked that, just not as much. The second act breakup was like a lot worse than that and a lot stupider. But I like that movie.
I really liked Booksmart when I first watched it. I still like it. My problem, especially after seeing Bottoms, is that like, that movie is just so kind of anonymous, and like it feels like here are actors in roles doing jokes, whereas like Bottoms feels like here's a comedic duo with a director that fits their sensibilities.
Yes,
working together. Like, it feels much more like there's intent behind it, whereas Booksmart is like, someone wrote a script. Olivia Wilde wanted to make that script. Totally. Here are the actors they found.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you have anything more to talk about this, really?
I don't think so. I think Emma Seligman has a interesting career already, and I'm very interested to see like where she goes.
For sure. Yeah.
That's it, really.
It's not going to win any Oscars, but I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. 9 out of 10 for me. Really liked it.
Nice. All right, cool. For the that was a good discussion, I think. I'm excited to see what comes next from them. But for the time being, I'm going to recommend, is it me who's recommending a film for the next discussion?
Do we want to do back and forth, or do we just?
Well, yeah. Wait, did you suggest Bottoms?
I don't remember. I think it was just like, I think we both said we were meaning to see it. And
oh, okay, sure. Do you have something specific in mind that you wanted to talk about?
Not specific. I mean, I know you haven't seen Breathless, and I think that's a great movie. So like, I would do that. Yeah. I would do any Elaine May movie. The Heartbreak Kid is such a fun, great movie. But like, anything's fine with me.
I will get to that, but also, instead, I'm going to suggest one of my favorite movies of all time that you haven't seen. We mentioned Wes Anderson before, but I want to talk about Fantastic Mr. Fox, because I recently got the Blu-ray for that, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'll talk about it more in depth then, but yeah, that's my choice. 2009, Wes Anderson, an hour and a half. Go and watch it if you haven't, to listen to the spoilers next episode. That'll probably be the only film next episode, because I don't think anything else is like coming out soon. I might talk a little bit more about Stop Making Sense, since that's hitting theaters. But otherwise, thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
I don't remember if we did an outro last time.
I do not think we did.
Great.
I think it was just
yeah, sometimes these things just sort of end.